Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, September 9th. 999. Look at that. We are 999 here in Central Time Zone. Got some cool stuff to talk to you about when it came to the stair climb that I participated in volunteering with this weekend, and some ways to manage some bad client experiences, of which I've unfortunately had plenty of experience. So, coffee up and I'll talk to you here in about 4 minutes. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my friends. Happy Monday, September 9th, or as we are calling it here in Oklahoma City, it's day 999. It's 999 here. 9, month of 9, day of 9, and definitely the hour of 9. Good morning. Good to see you. Even though I don't see you, I know you're listening on the podcast later. I know some of you are watching live. I know some of you are watching live while you're getting dressed while you're driving. No, don't do it when you're driving. Listen if you're driving. While you're getting ready for work, while maybe you're working, you got one earbud in. Any way you come in, I do appreciate you. Hey, it's Patrick Almond here at the Stop Doing Nothing show. And for you first time watchers, I run a digital marketing agency here in Oklahoma City. And this is a 3 times a week show where we talk about life and marketing. And I share some marketing tips. Some of them are technical, some of them are strategic. I guess some of them are technical/tactical. Some of them are strategic. Hopefully, all of them are going to be useful to you. And yes, we run an agency, and if any of this stuff ever seems overwhelming, you just give us a call and we will hook you up. Our number is always in the footer. You can always text us, and I respond personally to most of those texts. 405-217-4752. And we are in Central Time Zone, so if you ever text me really early, I'm going to say, I would normally say if it's before 9, I might be slow responding, but the reality is I respond to communication ASAP when I get it, whether it's email communication or text email communication. I don't want to leave you hanging. But yeah, I really have a good time with helping people set up sales processes, helping people design and set up their CRMs, their lead generation, their Facebook and Google ads. All that stuff is what we do for clients. And we are doing some really cool stuff now with AI. I'm finally jumping on that AI train where I'm seeing, since when I'm using things for myself, like AI appointment setting or AI knowledge generation or AI content generation, I like to reshare that for my clients. So we're starting to get some of that stuff too. And it's pretty cool. Even I'm amazed, and I'm a super nerd. I'm a nerd who's been around for a long, long, long time. So you'd think that I wouldn't be impressed anymore with this stuff, but no, this is getting good. I almost wish I had been born, like in what year is it? Like 2024, when the beginning of all this is happening. Where the beginning of AI and the beginning of drones and stuff like that, versus being born back in the 60s when we were just happy to have probably rooms with giant hot cathode ray tubes in it, or what was those tubes called that you plug in that had like the red filament in it that got really hot and would burn off your skin. Can't even think. Cathode ray tube is a big tube for a TV, but I can't. Vacuum tubes. There we go. Vacuum tubes. What I was thinking of. Versus me being born back in the day when vacuum tubes were. You kids born in 2024 today, if you're listening to this podcast in 15, 20 years, you have no idea how lucky you are with the technology that is happening today. It's pretty darn cool. As always, share your good news, what's coming up in your week, what's happened over the weekend for you, what kind of challenges, especially marketing challenges. I love hearing from you in the comments. We are streaming live on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook, a couple of places, and even Instagram. I'm going to go here and check on Instagram. Yeah, we're even live over here on Instagram. So on Facebook, we're sharing in a few groups and on my profile and fan pages. And anyways, we're just going to talk about marketing for a little bit. I've always got an agenda in front of me, so let's see what was on my agenda. So this is pretty cool. First of all, I'm going to talk about an affirmation that I've learned over the past, 10, 15 years. It's not woo-woo, Adam. It's stuff that kids say not every single day. Well, do they say? I'm not quite sure. Anyways, so if you've been around or you've been listening to the show at all, I volunteer at an elementary school on Fridays, okay? And I really like going in on Friday mornings because that's remember when you were in school and you had like the morning program, the morning assembly in the gym, or maybe like an afternoon assembly in the gym? Well, that's Friday morning at the school where I volunteer. And it's just so good to see everyone in the same room, calming down, learning what's coming up with school for the week. But they say this affirmation. And if anyone's watching who's here in Oklahoma City who has kids at that school, you're going to get a kick out of this. So they say this affirmation, and it's been going on since I've been going there, which is somewhere between 15 and 20 years. I have no idea exactly how many years I've been there, but I know it's been a decade plus volunteering. And one of the ways they wrap up the morning program is with this affirmation, and it's pretty cool. And I didn't realize that I had heard it so many times until I was typing it up this morning. And then I'm like, oh, goodness gracious, I know that thing by heart. So here it is. And if you want, you can DM me later or text me later, and I will get you the entire text of this. But this is how it goes. So this is just really cool. And think about this. Kids are saying this weekly to remind themselves of how to behave at school. Okay, there we go. Yesterday's failures are behind me. Today I will do what is right. I will do my best and I will treat others with respect. I accept, oh, you know what? I think I missed a line in here. So I will do my best. I will treat others with respect. I accept the responsibility for my behavior and its results. I do not have the right to interfere with the learning and well being of others. I accept the challenge to become the best that I can be. Now, for some reason, I think I left out a line here in the middle, but I'm going to read this again just in case you're someone who's taking notes. Yesterday's failures are behind me. Today I will do what is right. I will do my best and treat others with respect. I accept the responsibility for my behavior and its results. I do not have the right to interfere with the learning and well being of others. I accept the challenge to become the best that I can be. So they say that, and towards the end, when they say be, they lift up their fist. And it's amazing how many times I've heard that over the years. I mean, how many school years, how many Fridays, 15 years ago to now where I've heard this. And again, I didn't realize I had even had it memorized until I was typing it up this morning. So if you're looking for some words of encouragement and some words to inspire you, maybe something for you to say every single day, or maybe something for you to type up and put on your refrigerator for you to see every day and your kids to say every day, that would be it right there. And like I said, if you want the full text, let me know. I will copy and paste this into the stream afterwards, or if you text it to me, I'll copy and paste this and I'll text it right back to you. I hope your coffee is hot. Which cup are we going with today? We're going with the Stop Fucking Procrastinating cup. There we go. Okay, right there. From Coffee and Motivation. Great cup company. No association, but man, I love their cups. So, this past weekend I did something pretty cool here in Oklahoma City. I volunteered for the annual stair climb, September 11th stair climb, where hundreds of firefighters and EMTs and police officers and now civilians get together and they climb 110 stories of stairs to remember the firefighters and all the first responders who lost their lives and the passengers who lost their lives on September 11th. So, as you know, I climb a lot of stairs on the weekends. This one I did not. I did not climb the stairs myself. I just participated as a volunteer, and it was a very early day. It was even from my standards, it was an early day because I had to be downtown Oklahoma City volunteering to be ready to go for this event at 5:30. And so I'm down there in this the lobby of this skyscraper at 5:30, and it was dark, and I thought I was late, and I was one of the first volunteers there. And we're just getting set up to hand out T-shirts, get everyone checked in. And then all the firefighters start showing up. It was pretty cool to see. Everyone comes in, out of gear, and then we check them in, and they go back to their car, or their truck, or their rig, or whatever, and they get their gear, and they bring it in, and they all get dressed up. And dressed up. I don't want to downplay that at all. They all get dressed. So I have some pictures of this, which I'm going to share here shortly. So where's the pictures? Let me find the right scene here. So this is what it was like in the lobby of the skyscraper. So right there in front of you are probably 350 plus. As you can see, it's mostly firemen. There's a little kind of a news station lady there towards the left of the image, right there. But this was part of an opening ceremony. So there's an opening ceremony where they cover certain things, they remind them of the rules, and they remind them why they're doing this. And that was just so cool just to check in all those guys. You can see there's police officers there. There's a police officer on the left side of your screen in full gear, taser, gun, everything. So everyone in full gear. If people normally wear a bulletproof vest during the day, the bulletproof vests, they were wearing those. Again, everyone was there in full gear. And this year, I think, was the first year I'd heard that they actually let civilians in. And what they do when we check them in is they get a T-shirt and they get a little plastic. They get a one of those paper badges with the name and the picture of the person that perished, and whether it was Port Authority or what fire station number, where it was, And then if it's a civilian, it was like what flight they were on. But every single one of them has a picture. And then in the back of that sleeve is a hard plastic name tag, which will come into play later here. And so this is just getting started. This was probably 8:30 in the morning. Like I said, I've been there since 5:30 as a volunteer. So they're all rigged up and getting ready to go. You can actually even see on the floor to your lower left, there's tanks. So if they normally wear like oxygen tanks, one, two, or three, they were wearing those also. I saw at least one guy strapping up with three tanks on. So they do all the opening ceremonies. We had an amazing rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. And I found out later it was another one of the young lady volunteers. Goodness gracious, she couldn't have been more than 13 or 14, belted out an amazing Star Spangled Banner. So that's the beginning part, right? That's pre-event right there. That was about 8:30 in the morning, and this was, if you're in Oklahoma City, this was downtown in Leadership Square. So they've done it in different skyscrapers downtown, but this one was in Leadership Square downtown, which is 211 North Robinson. And Leadership Square volunteered this space, which was really cool. And it was a huge, you wouldn't think that them volunteering a building would be a big deal, but no, there was a restaurant open. They had to unlock doors. They had to get the AC on. I mean, Leadership Square management did a great, great job at letting us use this space. So 8:30, we do the opening ceremonies. There's all this going on right here, and then they prepare to actually start climbing the stairs. So from what I understand, in the World Trade Centers, there you actually have to like go up an escalator to get to the stairs to climb. That's how the World Trade Centers were constructed, if I'm not mistaken. I was able to visit once. And so, interestingly enough, the way this works inside of Leadership Square is there's a set of escalators that they use to get to the first set of stairs they're going to climb. Now, remember, these guys are strapped up in full gear. You can see them right there in their tanks, okay? Strapped up in full gear, getting ready to climb 110 stories. So this is just interesting. I noticed I got the Channel 9 lady again right there in the foreground, her and her ponytail. So this is I think this might have been group one or group two starting off. There were 10 plus groups they had them segmented into. And so this is how it started off. And yes, I have to admit, I was very surprised, but there was some emotion involved. Even I was getting teary eyed. And I'm not quite sure what did it, if it was watching the number of people that showed up to do it, watching all the selflessness that was going on, people giving up, a good chunk of their day to go do this. And if all that wasn't enough to remind you of the impact of what they were doing, if you see to the left of the image that's on the screen right now, there was a speaker. There were 3 or 4 speakers, and they were playing, as it started off right here, they were playing the radio traffic, the FDNY radio traffic from the morning of September 11th, 2001. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what those guys were going through? And can you imagine how emotional it might be hearing voices of people did not make it out of that building? So yeah, as these guys were taking off to go level 1 right here, that speaker you see in your lower left was playing the radio FDNY radio traffic from September 11th right there. It gets pretty emotional pretty fast. And again, all I was doing was volunteering. I can't even imagine the impact or how these guys felt strapping up, thinking about their brothers and sisters in New York who never made it out. And so, once they get all of this, once they get everyone launched from every battalion heading up to, to do 110 floors. And the way Leadership Square works is there's 2 towers. And so I believe there was some kind of pattern set up where they did 30 floors in one tower. They came down to the second floor, so I didn't see them. I was on the first floor. And they go over to the other tower, and there was an arrangement to make sure they get 110 stories done. Whatever it is, again, they're doing this in full gear. Some other volunteers were on different floors, making sure people were okay, making sure they had plenty of water. As you can tell, the media was there. That was Channel 9 right there in the foreground with the ponytail. And so once they all get launched, the volunteers, we kind of have a little bit of a rest period, and then eventually they start coming in. The coming in is the part that's going to get you also. Cool part about this that I'm going to point out is you've heard me talk about my buddy David Trowbridge, who I do stairs with on the weekends, okay? David Trowbridge, I did not realize how well David Trowbridge was recognized and how popular he was in the firefighting community. I talked to a lot of these firefighters. Every single firefighter knew David Trowbridge. And then I found out later, because I ran into David later, Trowbridge, I found out later that he leads Group 1. He might be one of the most athletic firefighters Oklahoma City has. They make a point of making sure he's in Group 1 and he leads Group 1. So he's leading the 300 to 400 first responders that are doing this stair climb. He is leading them. He was very first in the very first group. I found that out when he was all done, but still very cool. So got to see my buddy David Trowbridge and his sister Sandy. And so after they all get launched, there's a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a calm. And then what happens is they come down, and that hard plastic badge that has Velcro on the back and the back of the regular badge, there's a ceremony where they basically are bringing that home. And so here's the third picture I have right here. So as everyone gets done with 110 floors, they take that little badge. You can kind of see it there towards the upper left corner of your screen. They carry that badge the entire time. So as a volunteer, I was handing out these badges to them. The red ones you see, I believe, are for firefighters. I believe blue ones are for other first responders, EMT, Port Authority, things like that. And then the white ones are passengers on one of the flights from September 11th. So what happens is this person was a civilian right here, but normally the firefighter, so it's like a line of firefighters. When it gets real busy, there's like a line of firefighters to come down here, and they're filling up this board. This board was very full because I was kind of helping manage this board towards the end of the day. This board was very full. There's Velcro on the back that was full. I was carrying around handfuls of these and putting them in a bag because it just got so full. So they put the Velcro on there. They're welcome to say a prayer, take a knee, whatever they want to do. And they come over and they ring this bell with this gentleman over here on the right, who I found out is a neighbor of mine. And goodness gracious, his name slips me right now. But I was making sure, and they get like a little coin. So he has like a bag of coins. You see under his left arm there, they get like a special commemorative coin just for the event. And so towards the end of the event, I was helping him manage giving out those coins. Because, in the beginning of the event, these people are coming in, or the beginning of the end, if you will. These people are coming in 1, 2 at a time, the faster people, or the people in the first group. And towards the end, there's like a line of like 20, 30 firefighters coming up one by one, Velcroing their badge there, saying their prayer, and ringing the bell. And yeah, hearing that bell rung 300 to 400 times in a day, was quite amazing. So there are more people, unfortunately, that lost their lives on September 11th than there were people climbing stairs. So back in the beginning, so this is something I forgot to tell you. Back in the beginning of this whole thing, towards right before they started climbing the stairs, I had spare badges. And so I was walking around handing them out. So some people were climbing for 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I think the most I saw was a firefighter carrying the badges of a single firefighter in Oklahoma City, carrying 5 other badges up there. And so they would ring the bell 5 times for that. So towards the end, I was helping this gentleman on the right manage the badges, manage the bell, so it didn't fall off the table because it got rung a lot. And then we wrapped up. I can't remember what time. It was after noon sometime. And so it was quite an emotional day, quite just incredibly impressed to see how they come out and support their fellow firefighters. And if you're just tuning in later in the broadcast, here real quick is the image. And by the way, if you're listening on the podcast, please go back and watch the show so you can see these images I'm talking about. So if you're tuning in later, here is the overview right after they gear up, before they get started. We're doing national anthem. We're doing prayers here. I say we, it wasn't Patrick, was just volunteering. And then this is when they start, as they climb up the escalator to start the 110 stories. And then here is the end right there, where they ring the bell. So that whole thing was very amazing. Will I be volunteering again next year? You can bet your sweet ass I will be. And if you want to volunteer with me, let me know. I'll get you in contact with a gentleman. But there are certain things I like to volunteer from. This one was just recommended to me by my buddy David Trowbridge. And here's the amazing part. Here's the icing on the cake. Okay, here's the icing on the cake. It's Sunday, so yesterday, September 8th, mid-morning. Get a text from David. Hey, I'm gonna go climb some more stairs Saturday. Today, do you want to go? So I was exhausted from being on my feet, just wearing a t-shirt and shorts on Saturday. My buddy David had strapped up Saturday with his tank on and everything and climbed 110 stories. And then Sunday, he wants to go do our normal set of 110 flights of stairs. That guy is a beast. Goodness gracious, that guy is a beast. So if you're looking for something to volunteer for in Oklahoma City next year, please let me know. And like I said, I'll get you in touch with the right people. So, yeah, sometimes I take a little while to get to my business topic here, but I will always get to it. I promise. Okay, what was on my agenda today? Excuse me, down here. So how to manage problem clients. That was the topic was on my mind recently. And it was on my mind recently because I had a problem client, and every time I have one, because I've had various ones over the years, I try to take lessons away from it. And I'm to the point in life where I take full responsibility for losing a client. Um, even if it was something the client did that was rude or inconsiderate or mean or hateful or try to sabotage a relationship, I feel personally responsible because I think that there's always something I could have done better. And in this particular case, it may have been a communication issue where I lost a client. But I thought I had communicated well, and I didn't. So I'm going to have to do some retrospect there and figure out what I could have done better to keep this relationship alive, because it just didn't end well, even though I met what I thought was all the expectations on paper. So I was thinking about that today, and I was trying to go through some of the things that we could talk about when it came to how to manage nightmare clients, the things you can do to manage nightmare clients. And if you've ever had a nightmare client, if you've ever lost a client because of their mistake or because of your mistake, please make sure you post it in the comments. So we can all learn from each other, because that's why we're here. I'm just a facilitator. We're all here to learn from each other. Um, what was I going to say? So here's my notes so this particular client. This is what happened. Um, let me see. So we had a couple of pre-calls, okay? A couple of pre-setup calls, okay. Those calls went well. I had a good idea of what the client wanted. It was to promote a certain event. It was to get a course rolled out, and it was so promote a certain event, get a course rolled out, and then a couple of other minor things on the platform that we use, HighLevel, because we're amazing and certified HighLevel consultants for your business. Blatant plug right there. Um, so we had a pretty good pre-call setup, a pretty good idea of expectations. Something I've learned that um, that this time I did, which I didn't know how much it would allow me to see my A, if you will, CYA, is if you have not, if you do a lot of Zoom calls like me, like pre-sales Zoom calls or closing Zoom calls or client status Zoom calls, um, I try to make sure that these days, that every single one of my Zoom calls has my little AI assistant in it, my Fireflies.ai assistant, which listens to everything on the call, transcribes it, provides a summary, and then emails it to everybody. That saved my butt a little bit. We're going to get to that here in a second. So we had a bunch of pre-calls. Everything went okay. Had a couple of weekly status calls. Everything was going okay. I would recap the meetings. I knew what the expectations were. I knew when the due dates were. All that stuff. I had no idea this kind of thing was coming. Um, and so, towards the middle of, I don't know, towards the end of the week, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I started this client started getting a little bit paranoid and wondering how come certain things weren't done. Um, I went back to him. Hey Mark, we'll talk about your comment here in a second, man, but I appreciate you watching as always. So he started getting a little bit paranoid and was wondering how come certain things weren't done. This is where Fireflies saved my ass. Or how come certain things were done a certain way. And I'm like, we had a call. I have the call recording. You said this. And then he'd come back and text and say, I never said that. I'm like, I can extract the audio from this call recording because they get the call recordings also that says, you said this. And then he would come back and say, well, forget what I said. That's not what I meant. And I'm like, okay, I can't go off of what you meant or what you were thinking. I have to go off of what you said. So that told me a little bit that maybe my meeting recaps were not as good as they could have been. Because again, I went off of what he said. And this actually came in handy because I actually had like a merchant account dispute because of this. And I sent Stripe the meeting recordings that says, if this person says A, B, and C, I have it in their voice that they said D, E, and F. Okay. This is not even a question of right or wrong. This is just a very much black and white situation, not an opinion. This is very much a black and white situation. And so that's one case where Fireflies saved my butt. And so I am a huge fan now of making sure every Zoom meeting is recorded, and every single and to make sure that everyone gets the recordings. I don't like to be anybody who holds information hostage. So if I wasn't a fan of the Fireflies AI transcription before I'm recording, I am a huge, huge fan now. Please, I don't care what you use. It can be Otter. I've gone through a few of them, and I just love Fireflies. I have yet to see one that's better than Fireflies. It just blows me away with the amount of work it does. And guess what? You can use it in your merchant account disputes also. So in this particular case, I think I could have done a better job on some of the recaps. But again, I've kind of gone through a list here of things that are maybe like red flags or things that I can. Fathom works good too, Mark. That I could have done better when it came to clients. Let me see what Mark says here. This guy's just a bundle of freaking knowledge here. I technically have a client right now. I'm sure you mean problem client. We talked, worked everything out. He paid. Now I can't get a hold of him to fulfill. Ooh, ghosting. I hate that ghosting crap. Been 2 months, no contact. I've emailed, texted, called, left voicemail, and no response. But he paid us for 6 months, and I haven't even started the timer yet because he has one task force, verify Google. I don't know what that verify Google means there, Mark, but that's kind of weird. So it's not like he's disputing or you guys are arguing over something. He's just straight up ghosted you, man. I am sorry to hear that. That bothers me. When someone just straight up ghosts me like that. Hopefully he will resume communication here. And like Mark said also, Mark, I think I've gone through Fathom before. I've gone through Otter. But either way, I like it. And then something else I like, and let me see if, I don't know if you use this, Mark, when it comes to yours. In Fireflies, I can actually have Firefly pop the recording, the link to the recording of the whole recording. I can have Fireflies actually pop the recording over into one of my ClickUp workspaces projects after the call's done automatically. So Fireflies will start automatically when it's connected to my calendar. It will email everyone the recording afterwards, and they can pop the link to that recording over into my ClickUp project management software also. So paid and ghosted. Well, sorry to hear about that, Mark. Hopefully that will get resolved. That's just bizarre. Hopefully they just got really busy. That's happened to me on occasion also, is people will pay me good money up front to get a lot of work done. And then we get started and then they're just so busy, which is why they hired me. They're so busy to even communicate with me that we can't get the work done so they can get the value out of their money. Sorry, man. That is definitely not fun. So what do I have over here? Some things that I think are red flags that I could manage better is number one is their attitude on calls. Here we go. Let's go to where my notes are right here. Attitude on calls. I need to start paying better attention to when someone has a crappy attitude on a call or is pretty cynical. If someone's pretty cynical on a call, that's an issue I need to address ASAP. Cynicism and thinking things aren't going to work is just going to kind of cloud their judgment when it comes to all of our communication and all the milestones we're going to hit and things like that. So I need to do a better job about managing attitudes on calls. I think I'm usually pretty good about regular communication, but I could always be better. I like to end every meeting with setting up the next meeting, so we're not just kind of wondering up in the air, oh, what's happening next, and when I'm going to talk to you next. Um, I could probably always do a better job of communication. Please make sure, for those of you that may be just starting in business, or for those of you even listening on the podcast later, make sure pre-sale or immediately post-sale, you establish a regular communication schedule and possibly some joint places online where you can share information. Right now, my standard kind of operating procedure is right after a new client signs on board, they get a folder inside of a ClickUp so I can start storing information there about them. And we get a Google Drive, a shared Google Drive for us to put information in. And they have all the same editability that I do. I own the Google Drive, but I give them updatability so we can put in logos, videos, some marketing copy, things like that. Do it. You cannot over communicate. Okay, that's what I've learned: is you cannot over communicate. If a client ever comes back to you and says, "Hey, I'm getting too many emails and I can't keep up," then maybe you can kind of start to summarize a little bit. But you really cannot over communicate on this stuff. Communication kind of placates people being anxious and having anxiety about working with you. Okay, you cannot over communicate, and I've made this. These are all mistakes I've made before. Managing expectations on a regular timeline is something else I like to do. As you've probably heard in the past, I'm a huge fan of ClickUp, and I like putting data in ClickUp and then switching over to like a Gantt chart view or a calendar view to show people when things are going to happen. So, they'll tell me, I'll lay it out in a pretty graphic format. I will show it back to them and get them to say, yes, perfect, that's great. I also like to, and this is kind of my third and fourth here, know what's coming up in their business for events, for milestones, for long-term planning. Oftentimes on sales calls, people will hire us because they say, oh, we've got a big promotion coming up in a month, or we want to do this one thing in 3 months, or I want to start blogging on a regular basis. Well, I'm like, let's get this on a calendar. Let's 100% get this on a calendar. I had a client last week who was just saying all these things that he wanted to do on a regular basis. He wanted to start doing on a regular basis. I'm like, okay, take some time this weekend. Let me know a manageable schedule where you can generate the assets for me, and we will take care of the rest. We will take care of the social media posting. We will take care of the content posting if he creates the content. We will take care of all the technical side of the marketing if he just makes sure his part is ready. And I said, here's the schedule. I said, we kind of sketched out a general schedule. I said, now take the schedule of when you want things done and plan backward from each date, because the pre stuff, for example, if you want me to post a financial report, he's a financial like a stock analyzer. If you want me to post certain reports, that report has to be done a day or two before you want it posted. We can't say we need to post a financial report Friday afternoon, so we have to work on it Friday morning. No. On the day of a particular milestone that we want done, a project closure milestone, a marketing campaign kickoff, all of the assets have to be ready a day or two. So you have to basically take these major milestones, and that's one of the things I love about ClickUp. And Mark, I don't know if you've seen this, is you have tasks, but I'm also a big fan of milestones. Milestones are just certain markers and projects, certain stakes in the ground saying this is done, and this is done, and this is done. So oftentimes in ClickUp, I'll actually put in my milestones first. A blog post is supposed to be done here. A marketing campaign is supposed to kick off here. So I put milestones in first, and then I like to plan backwards from the milestones, because then what you can start to do, for those of you who have some really good project management chops, is you can start to link dependencies, and you can start to see the critical path in a project as to where your risk is. But I like to start with milestones myself and plan backwards. So make sure you're taking advantage of milestones in whatever project management tool you're using. I know Monday has milestones also. I don't know what Asana has, but it's just one of the things I learned many, many years ago. And this is probably easily 20 years ago when I started working on my project management certification that I admittedly never finished. But I do have some project management skills. Take advantage of milestones, please, 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 please. And probably my last tip for now when it comes to client management is show them progress. Meaning that if you've got some long-term projects, um, let's say you have a long-term project, it's a 3-week project. You're going to build a complete marketing campaign. You're going to build landing pages. You're going to build a course backend. You're going to build the retargeting part. You're going to build audiences. You're going to build automation, and you've projected it's going to be a 3 to 4 week project. Please make sure that they understand when you are getting things done and that you're not just sitting around waiting until the last minute. I have made the mistake before of putting on my tech hat and working heads down for weeks on end on something, and then maybe like 2 or 3 weeks in, I get paranoid emails and paranoid texts saying, I don't see any results from anything I'm doing. Now, I got to remember that they're not on the tech back end that I'm back end on. So, for example, like in HighLevel, they're not seeing the automations that are being created, the tags that are being created, the forms, the pages. They're not seeing that stuff. And I don't want them to see it, okay? I'm not hiding stuff, but my perfect client is the client that just wants the results. They don't care about all the geeky tech stuff on the back end, okay? That's my perfect client. As a matter of fact, if a client never even signed into our platform, I would perfectly be okay with that. I've had a client every now and then that says, you know what? When I get a lead, text me the lead. That's all I want. I don't want to know about anything else. I just want ads and I want leads. And I don't care how the automation works. I don't care how the web pages work. That's your job, Patrick. Whew. Perfect client right there. So I've done that before. I've made the mistake of just kind of working heads down, grinding it out for hours and hours and on end, and not communicating to my client, oh, we did this. Okay, we knocked out this page. We added these sections to this page. I took the testimonials you gave me, and I had to edit the video a little bit and put this up on here. And clients, at least most clients, I believe, like seeing the small little things getting done, so they know there's something getting done. And even if it's just like laying out a project, but I've just made that mistake in the past of not. Well, I guess that goes back to the communication, not communicating as a tech agent, being so heads down into my stuff, not communicating and screwing things up. So I'm going to tell you right now that I have plenty of experience with client screw ups, and I'm learning from every single one. They are few and far between these days. It just so happens, like I said, I had one in the past 4 weeks. It just kind of shocked me, and it was to the point where they even disputed the payment that they had made. So we didn't even last a month. They disputed the payment, and I was like, when they disputed the payment, I said, "Oh, really? We're going to do this?" Because you have to write up an explanation to the merchant company, in my case Stripe, and tell them why that whether or not something was delivered as expected. And I said, "Oh, really? We're going to do this?" So this, ooh, did I come across the microphone? I said, "Oh yeah." Cracked my knuckles, opened up a notepad file, and said bullet point A, B, and C. Here's the expectation that was set. Here's how it was met. And this is where the Fireflies came in handy, as I was even linking to my Fireflies recording saying, if anyone says that this was due on this particular date on this recording in their voice, I stated a date. They confirmed it was okay. And so it's going to be hard to be disputed, in my opinion. Now, merchant account companies tend to, side with the client, the person who paid the money. They tend to side with them a lot. So we're going to see whether or not, whether or not I win this dispute or not. I really don't know. But man, I did a long write-up explaining it was three major projects and how the terms we agreed on the projects and how they were met. And how the client even signed off on them and said this was okay with them. And I think what happened, this is what I really think what happened here is we had our planning meetings. They agreed to certain things in their voice. Towards the time that we started having a dispute, they in their head thought, I think they thought it might be done a lot faster, or it might be done on a different timeline, or they in their head had different expectations of what came out of their mouth. And so they called me, texted me, had a very interesting phone call right towards the end of the engagement saying, I said, I wanted this done this time and this time and this time. It's like, no, you didn't. I've got a recording in your voice that said the timeline you wanted, okay? Well, I really wanted it early, and okay, well, you can't do that. So once we when we were having all these disputes as the relationship wrapped up, if you will, as we were having all these disputes, I was like, I've got proof that you said this. If we want to change it, fine, but you can't berate me now because I went by what you said in your voice on this transcription of our Zoom meeting. And after 3 or 4 of those, we ended the call what I thought was in a civil manner, and then all of a sudden, it went south from there. I have no more communication, lost all my access, and I get this merchant account dispute. So as the call wrapped up, I personally think, this may be ego, but I personally think they didn't like the fact that I had proof that they had said something otherwise. Okay, that is personally what I think it was. Don't know what the merchant account company is going to do, but c'est la vie, live and learn. Hopefully, definitely live. Hopefully learn. Let me see what did Mark say here. Oh, cool. Mine starts auto, but I haven't checked into ClickUp. Yeah. Like I said, it doesn't dump the whole transcription of the meeting into ClickUp, Mark. All it does is I've picked like a designated workspace, and then when Fireflies has done its part, it just drops a link to that, and I basically have to take that link and go put it over in the right client folder, and then I put it in a Google Doc also for the client to have access to it. So that has probably been one of the better tech tools I've found recently is Firefly's meeting transcription. That is, to me, is just affirmation, that and a couple of things, that AI is really going to make our lives and our jobs easier. And here's another reason, by the way, sidebar. Here's another reason I like these meeting AI transcription tools, okay? Is it allows me to actually focus and run better meetings. So oftentimes in the past, I would have my head down, as you know, because I do some Zoom meetings in this room. I would have my head down as I'm just trying to rapidly take notes as they're saying stuff. I'm just like, can you repeat that, please? Can you repeat that, please? And I'm just trying to take notes in my own handwriting. For a while there, I was starting to get fancy, and I was taking notes in my own handwriting, but I was recording the meeting on the iPad the same time I was taking the notes, and so I thought that was pretty cool because the notes were in sync with my handwriting. And then once I started using a tool like Fireflies, I realized I don't have to take any notes at all. I do not have to take any notes at all. Now, there are times where I pull up a Google Doc and make certain lists with the client watching, but using like a meeting, when you have like a meeting recording tool or an AI transcription tool for a meeting, you can focus more on the meeting and less on taking notes. Let's see what Mark says here. Awesome. I need to start doing that. Fathom gives me a link to the transcription. I just say, if you want a copy, ask. I should just add that to their client drive. Yeah, I have inside the client drive, Mark, I have a document that's just like meeting notes, and then every Fireflies link, I just put it in there at towards the top. Again, I don't want to keep this stuff secret or hide anything for the client at all. So, like I said, I love that, and I went through a few of them. I even think Zoom has one built in now. I just can't imagine it being as good as Fireflies. Okay, or Fathom or Otter. I can't imagine Zoom adding on a meeting transcription tool being as good as some of these standalone tools. Fireflies, the reason I went with Fireflies is number one, it gives you very good summaries and bullet points, but also it towards the bottom, it'll actually summarize the things that were said into like to-do lists. So at the bottom, it actually has a to-do list for my client and myself towards the bottom, which was really cool. Let me see, what does Stephen say here? My wife, an admin assistant at university, is sitting here nodding in agreement about having a transcription tool. She's not your wife, Stephen. She has a name. I want to know her name, you beautiful, beautiful woman, Mrs. Warren. I will call you for right now, but I'm sure she has a name. But yeah, I would imagine for an admin assistant, meeting transcription tools are amazing also. Mark, you could probably set up a Zap to just make it happen once created. Yeah. Oh yeah, you probably could. So you're talking about like if the meeting transcription tool came up with a to-do list, like add them as task mark. Is that what you're referring to? Cool. That's probably what you're referring to. I've thought about that. I haven't gotten quite that fancy yet. Sarah Warren, nice to meet you. Hello from Oklahoma City. Your buddy Steven is on here often, sharing his wisdom with us. And so, without even knowing you, I'm going to say he probably made a pretty good choice when he picked you. And I hope you guys have been married a happy time and a long, long time. I'm kind of curious, Sarah, so admin assistant, which tool do you like for like meeting transcription, Sarah? Which of those AI tools do you like? Um, oh, I don't think I finished a thought. I was talking about how they let me focus more. So what I can do now is once I know Firefly has entered the Zoom meeting, I can basically put down my cool little Apple Pencil and iPad, and I can look in the camera and I can talk to someone. I can give them 100% of my attention, 100% of my eye line without, without saying, "Can you please hold on? Can you please do this?" I mean, there are plenty of times where we do, screen share for all kinds of things, but it allows me to focus on the person in front of me. Um, Oh, Notability is what I use for meetings at the moment. You know what? I actually think, do I have Notability? I might even have Notability on my iPad, Steven, because I tried that one out. Um, let me see. What do I have? Oh, Good Notes. I have Good Notes on the iPad. Okay, but I'm not using it. I went back to the Apple one because the Apple one did everything I was using for Good Notes for a while. So I try to use all the native Apple tools whenever possible. And in the Apple Note thing, I can do all the same handwriting I was doing before. So between taking notes and Apple Notes for the times I do take notes, and Fireflies, I really found out I don't need Good Notes. Now I have it here. You can see here that I've got clients and I've got some things going in Good Notes, but I haven't used it for a long time. I have this bad habit of looking for productivity tools, not using the productivity tools in front of me. So in my case, this has happened. This is just a bad habit I have. Have you ever heard someone say they waste a lot of time looking for productivity tools? That's me. Okay, I waste a lot of time trying to be productive. Isn't that humorous? Um, but I've on my Apple in my Apple world, I've looked for different calendar programs to make me more productive, not realizing that the Apple Calendar was serving me just fine. I've looked for different email programs like Spark to make me more productive, not realizing I had a free one right. I knew it was in front of me, I just wasn't using it to its full effectiveness. So, like I said, I've gone back to Apple Notes, but I'd like Notability and some of those other ones. They do some really cool things there. And I'm kind of curious, Sarah, what meeting transcription tool does she use in her day? So Notability is what I use. Let's get this back up here. My wife and I missed this at university. Okay, university. I missed that part before. Sitting here nodding in agreement. Yeah, we're just so lucky, in my opinion. We are so lucky in 2024 to have some of these amazing tools at our disposal. We really are. And I could lament on and on and on about me being more mature age wise and just some of the things I've had to go through technology over the years. I'm very glad to be alive and see what these tools that are coming out and how we're using them. So we're kind of a quick recap of what we were talking about here when it came to the client nightmares. Probably out of all these, the one I would say that is where I've probably made most of my mistakes is the one on managing regular communication. Communication, like action, fixes so many of the other problems. Communication will show them the progress, which is one of the last points I talked about. Communication will make sure that you have kind of some two-way communication going on when it comes to major, business milestones. Okay, that's also important. Communication will solve the expectation. Okay, and hopefully communication will help help you with the relationship attitude, which can come around and bite you in the ass. So if you don't have any idea of how to communicate or manage expectations, get some training on it. I'm also a big fan of using project management tools, which I've talked about before. There's a ton of good ones on the market. I use ClickUp. Gone through several before I really settled on ClickUp. And then also I like making sure that I regularly update Google Docs that I'm sharing with the client. We have a Google Doc folder for each client, and I try to put regular updates in there also. So I'm always getting better at verbal communication, at written communication and at like Jack's actually sharing like statuses online. And one of my favorite things to do, like I said, is to make sure project milestones are laid out correctly. And then in a meeting, I like to bring up their entire list of projects and show it on like a Gantt chart or a calendar. If you can show a client upcoming milestones on a Gantt chart or a calendar of some sort, I mean, they love that stuff. They really, really do. And lastly, and this may be a whole show by itself, is I'm getting really good and really enjoying the templates ability inside of ClickUp. I have like an agency audit checklist right now, which goodness gracious has 50 or 60 items on it. I have a templated list for when I set up sales teams inside of HighLevel. Okay, so these are there's certain things I do when it comes to forms and automations and pipelines when it comes to working with sales teams inside of HighLevel. So I've got templates for all this stuff right now, so I can onboard new clients. Like say that Sarah was a new client or Stephen were a new client. I can create my project and then I can say add this template, add this template, add this template. I'll go in and tweak the tasks for their particular project, and then bam, and then we've basically got our list for our list of things we have to get done. So I'm going to be using a lot more templates inside of ClickUp to organize my work. It's just, and the reason I don't know. I think overall I'm just trying to get better at getting things out of my brain, trying to stop remembering checklists, trying to stop remembering how to do certain things, building SOPs every single day, and I'm dumping my brain into ClickUp for document management, for what did I say, document management, for project management. As a matter of fact, you know what I can do real quick? Oh, you know what? I'm not set up for it. Oh, I was going to be able, oh, dang it, I wanted to show you my ClickUp arrangement where I'm actually storing knowledge inside there also. Oh, let's see, what does Steven have here? What did he say here? Two of subject questions. Are you watching the Apple event today? And are you going to watch a SaaSpreneur workshop over the next 3 days? Am I watching the Apple event today? No, I am an Apple fanboy. However, I have stuff to get done, and I know it will be recorded. And I think all those are now recorded, and like they're on the Apple events. Someplace inside my Apple TV, inside our main living room, there's like an Apple events place where I can go back and watch the replay. So I probably won't watch that live because I just got stuff to get done. And then, are you going to watch the SaaSpreneur workshop over the next 3 days? Oh, is that the one with Frank Kern? I think I'm registered for it, and I tend to watch the replays on those. So here's my take on this, and this may be like a time management thing as we kind of wrap up the day here. Is when all these products I use, whether it's ClickUp or HighLevel, when they have these live events during the day, and they want you to tune in live and participate, and give up that time, I don't. If I have other work that has to get done, I won't watch those things live. I'll go back and I'll watch the recordings. I'll go back and I'll watch the recordings of them, and then I'll take notes from them. Or what I may do, and this is sneaky. Where is he? Mark, you're gonna love this. This is really sneaky. I gotta remember to do this. I will, I will take my Zoom link for the meeting. I can go over into my AI transcription tool, Fireflies. I can give Fireflies that Zoom link. Fireflies will join the meeting without me even being there, take all the notes for me, and record the audio, and then it'll email me when it's done. So I'll know for example, when the first Kern meeting is over, because I'll get an email from Fireflies with all my notes in it. Did you guys ever see the movie Real Genius, where towards the end, where the instructor is sharing it with people? He's sharing something in Real Genius, and he as the course goes on, every week or every day, the instructor looks up and there's fewer and fewer people in there, and there's more tape recorders, to the point where, like, one of the last scenes in this whole series, in the movie Real Genius, one of the last scenes is the instructor put a tape recorder in the front of the room to play his lecture, and the room is full of 20 or 30 student tape recorders recording the lecture, so no one's physically attending the class anymore. That's what I have to do. So thanks, Stephen, for the reminder. I don't think I'll be able to watch it live. because I participate in very few live events during the day. Just good time management, my friend. But if I remember and I get that on my calendar, I can make Fireflies. I'll call him Bob. I can make Mr. Bob Fireflies go over and join the meeting and take my notes for me. And that way I get all the same information. Hopefully, if they share any links or any resources or things like that, I'll get those also. Yeah, Frank Kern's pretty smart. I honestly don't find him terribly more brilliant than other marketers. I think that you watch Frank Kern the same reason you might watch me or somebody else. It's a style thing. Frank Kern is pretty much from the get-go been I just DGAF. I just don't give a fuck, okay? He's Mr. Surfer Dude, or he was Mr. Surfer Dude. He's very much has a casual, relaxing way of speaking, and that is part of his marketing. And it works. That's why I like watching Frank Kern's style almost more than his substance. You know, all of us have been around marketing a while. That's very rare for us, excuse me. It's very rare for us to see something brand new and mind blowing anymore. It's just a lot of regurgitating, old classic stuff, which is what Frank Kern does. He does it very well. I'm not saying don't ever attend his training. He puts out good stuff, definitely good training. But I like Frank Kern just for his presenting style. I don't give a fuck, whatever. Some people would be on stage. Some people would be on stage, and let's say the technology doesn't work. I'm not sure if it was Kern that was on stage at Level Up last year, or I've seen him at previous events where he's like, oh, slides don't work. I don't give a fuck. Just throws the remote away and starts talking. Whether he's on stage or off stage, he's the same person, and he just doesn't. He shares good information, and he just doesn't have to care that hard. He's never worried about selling, even though he's kind of selling no matter what he does, because you want to work with him in his masterminds. But thank you for the reminder, Stephen. I'll try to make sure I get the reminders for those, and so I at least drop my little AI guy in there. We are going on 10:02. We all have work to get done. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you have any ideas for a Wednesday show, let me know. I keep forgetting, but I'm going to try and start doing some screen shares. I keep saying this. Try and start doing some screen shares so we can talk about certain marketing tactics and certain marketing strategies, but do them live, do them live on the show. And again, for those of you watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Those of you that listen to the podcast, please make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you as always, man. And let's have a great day, a great week out there. Let's go out and sell some shit. Mark, I appreciate you tuning in. Steven, Sarah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Anybody else who chose to watch live and not participate, you know what? I know you're out there someplace. Okay? As always, if you need anything, text us here at the office, 405-217-4752. As a matter of fact, if you want show reminders, text show to 405-217-4752, and I will work on making sure I alert you right as the live show starts. Wednesday at 9 a.m. Get it on your calendar. Have a great day. And my friends, please go sell some stuff. Bye, Warrens. I appreciate both of you tuning in today. And we're going to do some good things this week. I feel it, okay? I really feel it. Let's go out there and kill some stuff today.